Shalom everybody and welcome back to Old Soul Torah. This week, Parshat Lech Lecha. It is a part of Genesis where Abraham is introduced to the text and he is immediately given 10 different trials or tests. And what we're going to do today is first introduce you briefly to what those tests are and how they might resemble some of the tests and trials and challenges that we go through in our own life. But secondly, after that, we're going to delve into a little bit about the meaning and purpose of why we go through tests and challenges in life. And finally, at the end, we're going to conclude with a practical application, an exercise of how we might get better insight into what's going on in our lives, especially if we're currently going through some challenging times or recently we've been through. The exercise can shed some wisdom and insight. Okay, so with no further ado, let's carry on. In the Talmud, it teaches that with 10 trials was our father Abraham tried, and he stood firm through all of them. And this was in order that his love be known. If one looks at Abraham's trials symbolically and compares them to their own story or their family's history, they will find similarities. In other words, Abraham's tests greatly resemble the tests and trials we will all go through in our own personal lives. The calling of Lech Lecha, go forth from your land, from your birthplace, and from your father's house to the land which I will make known to you. The famine in Canaan, especially after God had already promised blessing and prosperity. The injustice Avram faced in Egypt concerning his wife Sarah. The war between the 4 kings and the 5 kings. The marriage to Hagar that came as a result of having no children with Sarah. The command to circumcise himself at his advanced age. The injustice and deception suffered at the hands of Avimelech when he also took Sarah. The sending away of Hagar after having her child. The sending away of his son Ishmael. And finally, the binding and attempted sacrifice of Yitzchak, Isaac, his beloved son. Now we get into the question of why. Why have these tests and trials to begin with? So we're going to go back to the original statement from the Pirkei Avot that it says with 10 trials, Abraham was tested and he stood firm in each test so that his love will become known. The big question is, whose love? Whose love are we talking about? Is it so that Abraham's love be known, meaning how much faith and love he had for Hashem? Or is it that God's love be known through the tests and tribulations? Well, the text remains ambiguous, and I believe it's for a reason. What's the reason? It's so that both of their love shall be revealed through this struggle. So how is it possible that God's love for someone be revealed through the struggle and tests we have in life? And to answer that question, we have to go into the Hebrew word for test. When God gives you a test in Hebrew is nisayon. Nisayon, the roots of the word nisayon is nes, and nes means two things. Nes means a miracle, and nes means a banner, something you hang up for the world to see. Implying the following: a nes, as in miracle, it is something. What is the definition of a miracle? Essentially, it is when the divine is revealed in the ordinary. It is when the extraordinary comes to be revealed through the ordinary, everyday patterns of life. A banner is something that you raise. It is your statement to the world. It is something you raise and elevate for everyone to see. Every time an individual passes through a difficult challenge or phase of their life, not only do they experience a transformation within themselves, but also God's light is further revealed in the world. See, really, there's two ways of measuring success. There's the way we measure success through society's eyes, and that is we're supposed to follow a predictable pattern of life, and one that is within the norms of society. But then there is the way we measure success in God's eyes, and that is what we do with our challenges. How much soul growth or personal growth takes place despite the challenges. How much you're able to overcome, how much you're able to use the resources that are given to you in spite of the challenges, and use what's available to you to choose the higher road in the situation. Actually, very rarely does an individual, if his soul is really coming into this world to grow, very rarely is that soul going to experience the normative, predictable patterns of life, of getting married, having a family, having wonderful children who are educated and successful. That's why there's not one single biblical family that had a normal family. Straight across the board, most of our holy mothers and fathers had very, very dysfunctional families. Why? Because they weren't here to waste time. They didn't come into the world to waste time. They were here to pave new roads and paths for the rest of us. And that would require challenge. And when one can endure the challenges, when one can make the right use of their potential despite the obstacles and to overcome them, that is a person that is revealing godliness, light, and the miracle, the extraordinary within the ordinary. And that is their message to the world. That is the banner they raise. And that is how we measure success through God's eyes. Very, very different than society and the status quo. The lesson here is to be able to reframe our difficult circumstances and understand them as very important lessons that came to surface in our lives because we were in need of some kind of tikkun or karmic correction. The term for this process in Kabbalah is called birur chisaron, literally the clearing of a lack, deficiency, or imbalance in our soul's history. The idea that we can once again come in as humans for the opportunity of such a clearing or correction comes from God's chesed, his loving kindness. This is why the Kabbalists teach that the Hebrew word for gilgul, which means the incarnation of the soul into the body, is the same gematria or numerical value as the Hebrew word for chesed, loving kindness. Help from the universe is always available to us, even in our bleakest moments, if we open our hearts to it. The moment we stand outside ourselves and connect with a higher intelligence, higher and more profound than our limited rational minds, we set miracles in motion. The moment we are able to improve even the slightest character flaw, a spiritual banner is raised for us in heaven. So folks, I really believe not just in insights and ideas for the sake of intellectual stimulation, but I'm a big fan of practical application. And so I have some self-reflective questions that I am including in the comment section. Okay, if you go in the comment section, all the questions are there to ask yourself. And we're going to proceed forward so you could see the questions themselves here in the video. But there's two ways to do it. One is to take each question one at a time and to ask yourself these questions while closing your eyes or in meditation. And as soon as you get the answers, you can write them down. The second way to do it is as a journaling or writing exercise, because all change brings with it gifts, insights, revelations. And basically the exercise is imagining the change or the challenge that you're going through and imagining it as a person and having a conversation with it. So good luck in your journeys, and here are the questions. And so, my beautiful friends, until next lesson, stay noble, stay courageous, stay strong, stay focused, and stay open to His direction, His light, and His guidance. The world is going through some very, very turbulent times, and it may escalate. So I'm asking each and every one of you to hold some sacred space for the planet and for others, and to just send all your peace and blessings towards the Middle East, towards the Holy Land, towards Jerusalem. And may we see better days filled with His light and His blessing and His peace very, very soon. Until next lesson, take care and stay safe.